Kia ora, good evening. How are you, fellow Kiwis, fellow New Zealanders, fellow sports lovers, particularly rugby union lovers, and the lovers of our national game of Aotearoa? My name is Junior, and I'm here to give you a quick snapshot as to why I believe rugby union is far more superior than rugby league. Um, I've got a whole heap of notes that I've written down that I believe that further justifies my reasonings as to why I believe rugby union is far more dominant. So if you see me looking down, it is because I'm reading my notes and there are important information here that I do not want to overlook. Once again, this is subjective. This is based on my opinion. So you can either feel free to agree or disagree. So without further ado, the first reason as to why I believe rugby union is far more superior is, it goes without saying, there are no lineouts in rugby league, there are no rucks in rugby league, and there are no mauls in rugby league. The technicalities in these areas that take time and take absolute age to master in rugby union just does not exist. Okay, it takes time to master and it takes time to understand. So rugby league does not have that. That's a different facet of rugby union in its own that rugby league just seems to lack. I just want to mention, historically, rugby league is known as just bashing it up the middle, just tackle, fall down, get up, run. So not real overly mind stimulation or tactical stimulation. It's just more about brawn rather than brains. Whereas rugby union, it showcases brains and it showcases brawn. As much as there may not be a lot of brawn compared to rugby league, but the thing that sticks out is the brain side of things. Anyways, I'm just going further into my list. Okay, there is a big example is that in rugby union, okay, there is set plays. Okay, there are set plays in the line, there are set plays in possession, and there are defensive set plays or tactics, and they are important. Defensively is a lot more important than, if a team in rugby union has got a defensive edge, it shows when a team is scrummaging, it shows when a team is tackling. Whereas in rugby league, a lot of emphasis is on attack, and yes, the age of saying defense wins you games, well, it's a lot more prominent in rugby union than it is in rugby league. Now another big facet is that in rugby union, the kicking game can be showcased either by the fly half or the fullback. Yes, although it's very, very prominent by the fly half, the fullback can also get involved. Now, that I'm not saying that the fullback in rugby in rugby league doesn't get involved. In rugby union, there is a big emphasis that it can be shown, that a fly half isn't the only primary kicker of the ball. The fullback can get involved when they're in the line. Also, there's a big emphasis on positional yardage or meters gained when kicking into a particular territory. So the attacking team does get the advantage to put on set plays, as opposed to in league, kicking the ball is just to try to avoid getting caught up with the ball or get caught on a last play with the ball. Because remember, in rugby league, you only get 6 tackles per set, whereas in rugby union, there are phases. And it's only natural that the more phases an attacking team is involved without stoppages, the more tired the defensive team gets. So it shows the absolute dominance of ball possession shows in rugby union, as opposed to where in rugby league, people just, they get 6 tackle sets, and then most likely there's a big likelihood that if they're not in a point scoring position, they just kick it out just to end the play. There's no kicking tactical advantage involved. It's just to put the ball out of play because they don't want to get caught with the ball. So so that's a big that's a big difference. And in rugby union, there's a free flowing of the contesting of kicks in play, whereas in league, kicks are in play to just contest possession. So there's a lot of, now what I mean by that is there's a lot of stoppages, there's a lot of emphasis of not contesting or putting on pressure on players, fly halves, who in league is known as halfback. Okay, in rugby league, there's an emphasis of not trying to injure or not trying to put too much heavy traffic on the kicking player being the halfback, whereas in rugby union, it's permissible. It shows to put on pressure on the fly half or the fullback to put in when they're putting in a kick, because you're trying to stop them from gaining an advantage from an advantageous kick. So there's a lot more contesting involved in rugby union. Now, also in rugby union, there's in general play, when an attacking team gets a penalty, there's a lot more kicking for goals utilized in rugby union, because penalties are given 3 points and a conversion for a try is given 2 points. So naturally, a lot of teams they elect for a penalty goal because it showcases the kicking strengths of a particular player, the accuracy, and also it allows the crowd to get involved, because there's a sense of showcasing that's shown where where if a particular, for example, if a player is trying to convert a penalty from the sideline, there's a lot of emphasis on the player's kicking ability. Okay, there's a lot of emphasis on the crowd coming in. There's just these theatrics involved, whereas in league, it doesn't show that. There's a high chance that even if a player is in the kicking range, they don't elect for the penalty goal, because what's the difference of kicking a penalty and going for a conversion? They both give you the same points, and that's 2 points. So it's a high risk for a team to kick for a penalty in rugby league to earn 2 points, whereas opposed to keeping the ball in hand and trying your luck with another set of 6 tackles to get a try, or to kick the ball out, okay, and to gain possession, to start your set of 6 tackles at a further up in the field in the opposing team's territory. So basically, in short, there's no bang for buck for a penalty in rugby league as to where there is in rugby union. Hence why in rugby union, a penalty, you get 3 points, and a conversion for a try, you get 2 points. Whereas in rugby league, you just get 2 points for a penalty and 2 points for a conversion of a try. So there's a disparity of 1 point. So that's a big thing. What I find that's very different. The big difference is that union showcases a lot more facets of the game of rugby. Whereas now another facet is that in rugby union, the body position is a key when defending, as you are trying to defend and hold the ball up. Therefore, before a player can put in for you an effort to turn over. So basically trying to hold up. Okay, so you're trying to hold an attacking player up so you can get a turnover, or when you make the tackle, to get into a particular position to force a turnover. Whereas in rugby league, it's just tackle. As I mentioned earlier on, it's just a tackle. Okay, and there's rarely ever any contest in the tackling for a turnover. There's not even any. It's historical now. And in league, yeah, it is simply just to tackle, get up, as I mentioned. In union, is good where the onus is not just scoring tries, but also also on defense and discipline. Now, good example. So the onus of defense and discipline is more showcased in rugby union as opposed to rugby league because the disparity of points. Now, as I said, in rugby union you get 5 points for a try. You get 2 points for a conversion. You get 3 points for a penalty. In rugby league, you get 4 points for a try, 2 points for a conversion, 2 points for a penalty. So when you look at this, okay, so a team in rugby union can score 3 tries, which is 15 points, no conversions. Okay, now they can still lose to a team who's kicked 5 penalty goals, because 5 penalty goals equals 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Okay, so now that equals a draw. So still a team that scored 3 tries, okay, now a team in rugby league that scored 3 tries without any conversions, that's 4, 8, 12. Okay, so that's 12 points without any conversions in rugby league. Okay, and in rugby union it's still 5 it's whereas 3 tries, okay, that's 5, 10, 15, and 5 penalty goals, that's still 15, and then you get an extra time, okay, and a penalty goal or a drop kick can get you 3 points on the buzzer, whereas a team in rugby league, okay, so if you score 4 tries, so that's 4, 8, 12, and if a team kicks 5 penalties, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. See? So 3 tries in rugby league, that's 12. Okay? And a team that kicks 5 penalties in rugby league equals 10. Whereas in rugby union, that's 3 tries is 15, and 5 penalty goals still equals 15, but a team that kicks 5 penalty goals can still win the game as opposed to the team that scored 3 tries. See, so there's a lot more, so there's a lot of so just scoring tries doesn't necessarily mean you win the game. Okay, albeit that you've scored more tries than a team that's kicked 5 penalty goals, you can still lose the game, because the team that's kicked the 5 penalty goals can actually kick another penalty goal or a field goal in extra time, and you've lost the game even though you've scored 3 tries. So yeah, without confusing you, without confusing anyone, all I'm getting at in that component of my difference is that scoring tries in rugby union, scoring more tries than the other team in rugby union, does not necessarily guarantee you, the scoring team, that you've won the game come full time. Whereas opposed in rugby league, the high likelihood of you scoring more tries than the team that's kicked penalties and hasn't scored anything somewhat does guarantee that you've won the game. Now, last but not the least, the biggest difference that I do find in rugby union, why rugby union is a lot more better than rugby league, is that the contested scrums. So, for example, it is shown time and time again that when a team is contesting a scrum with power, okay, there's a lot more weight, there's a lot more power, okay, things can be changed. The outcome of a game can be changed just purely by a defending team scrummaging or gaining possession of the ball at the scrum, as opposed to where in rugby league, scrum is just to commence a new start of a new segment of the game. It's not contested. In fact, these days referees don't even want teams to be contesting scrums. It's just to have the game free flowing, so there's no real advantage in scrummaging in a rugby league rather, as opposed to where there is a massive advantage in rugby union. You contest a scrum, you show if your team's got a lot more weight compared to the other team, the high likelihood of you turning over the ball at a scrum is a lot higher than whereas a team not having the weight in rugby league and not being able to contest a scrum, it's next to none for you to be gaining the ball at a scrum. So yeah, that's last but not the least. That's the last idea. Now, oh, not the idea. Sorry, my last opinion. Now, moving on to my suggested ideas that I have. This is just throwing caution to the wind. I mean, how to make rugby union more better than what it is. I mean, who am I at the end of the day? I'm a nobody. But if I was an administrator or a person that was taking care of changing rules or changing Super Rugby or making it more exciting than what it already is, what I would do first and foremost is start an origin series for the game in Aotearoa. Something as simple as North Island versus South Island. Yeah? So North Island taking on South Island, where it's like the State of Origin series in Rugby League. Now, as we know, there are very good teams in the North Island and there are very good teams in the South Island. Okay, and now if we can somehow converge that and make that into a State of Origin series that's within this current Super Rugby format, oh, mate, that will be to die for. Okay, that's an idea. Also um, bringing in collisions, bigger collisions like there are in rugby league. Uh, So, for example, it's very, very policed that when somebody goes in for a dominant tackle in rugby union, that if there's a slight swing arm or there's slightly high on the chest, the person gets sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. Whereas in rugby league, if there's no swinging arm, even if there's a swinging arm, but there's nothing caught on the head or anything like that, it's a dominant tackle. Now, I mean, what I mean by that is that I really believe that shoulder charges should be part of the game, both codes. The fact that it shows body impact and collisions. I mean, the crowd loves that. As long as there's not a shoulder charge directly on the head, I don't see why it should be taken out. So if rugby union was to reintroduce the shoulder charge back in the game, comprehensive shoulder charging, so where the head is nowhere near the contact. I mean, it's just only natural. If you get it wrong, okay, it's a high risk maneuver for a defender. If you get the shoulder charge wrong, you suffer the consequences. That is either being sent off or being sin bin. But if you can execute a shoulder charge properly, it brings the crowd in. So I believe that the shoulder charge should be allowed back in the game. It's just, hey, the onus is on the defender. Either make it or you break it. Okay, so it's up to you. You get it wrong, you suffer the consequences. You get it right, you are doing good for the team morale, high likelihood of getting the ball back, and also, hey, it's a crowd game. It brings the crowd into the game, so why not? Um, um, Last but not the least, I don't really think that 15 men are really required in rugby union. To be honest, it just congests the playing field. I mean, I personally believe it congests the playing field. So, I mean, a good idea would be to try to bring in an option where bringing it down to 13 men so fast men or teams of who have got a lot of stamina can utilize the extra space. That's something, and I mean, there are usually times in rugby union because of the two extra players, they get isolated. They're not doing anything, they stand long enough there that they can catch a cold, and we hear it time and time again. So, I mean, we can bring an option in where, I mean, something to experiment. Why not? I mean, in not at the top league, but at the amateur grounds, at the amateur levels. To try to trial, experiment, see what can happen with 13 players. Never know. But yeah, that's something to look at. Anyways, look, I think I've spoken a lot longer than I should have. So without going off on a tangent or without talking too much, that's just my quick snapshot. So yeah, um, once and for all, I personally believe rugby union is far better and far more dominant than rugby league because it's a test of brain and brawn, whereas in rugby league, there's just simply a test of brawn. that's me. That's Junior. That's my take. So hope to see you guys again. Thanks. Take care. Bye bye.